What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show, where we talk about everything from philosophy to water events. My name is Joshua Freeman. To my left, I got Mr. Bryan Carey himself. To my right, I got Mr. Desmond Tillmon. How you guys doing?
Doing well, sir. Thank you for the introduction.
Easy breezy, beautiful nigga.
You said easy breezy what?
Beautiful nigga.
This guy here. But remember, like, subscribe, all that. But most importantly, we want to hear what you guys think. So remember, comment, okay? No statement is a stupid statement, okay? No matter what Bryan said about him judging people about the earth being flat. If you think the earth is flat, it's totally fine, okay? We really want to hear what you guys think, okay? Comment, all right? But as far as the topics for today, the first question, we have two. The first question would be, is love more about fate or is it more of a choice? So, I don't know who wants to go first on this one.
I'll take it.
You want to go? Okay.
Yeah, the eye contact wasn't really.
You were avoiding it. All right, so I'll take it.
Okay.
So I feel love is entirely a choice. So there's two parts of it, and it's not exactly quantifiable because you can't give a number to a feeling or something that's metaphysical. So I believe that love is actually 25% feeling and 75% action. Because if you love someone without the action, what's the point? It's not being conveyed or anything like that. It makes no difference. So it's nothing really. So, and I also believe that we can convince ourselves anything is fate. Fate is simply the consequence of our choice and action. So, for example, if you read daily, you're destined to, it's your fate to amass a wealth of knowledge, correct? As a consequence of that. And we use fate to justify things because it feels right, or this is just what we feel like is the natural progression of things. And I feel like as it applies to dating and relationships and love and all that dating is simply finding someone with a set of problems that you could tolerate. So we're all equally troubled in the sense that we all have problems, not to the same degree or anything like that, but we're trying to weed through that. But it's impossible for us to try out everyone. So it's that being said that it's impossible for us to tell if our choice is the best. We rationalize it as being fate because we feel like the choice that we made is correct. So fate is a consequence of our choice.
Interesting.
So I think it could potentially, I personally believe it's more of a choice, but I think it is potentially both based off of somebody's thought process. If somebody is more inclined to, think more off of logic, it's definitely a choice. But if somebody is to think more off of emotions and they're just like going through those emotions, I think it could be more fate, because if you're basing it off of emotions, then what typically is going to happen is you're following those emotions, you're conveying those emotions, and then something happens. It could be both good, it could be both bad, but typically if you're following those emotions and you're displaying them, the energy that you're going to receive should reciprocate that energy you're given. And that could potentially be, the believing of that love is fate. If you believe it that it's logic, then nothing you said was incorrect. So there's nothing I can really add on to that. I would just say that when you're moving more off of logic, you're like thinking 10 times more. You're like, if I do this, then what's the reaction? And that's not to kind of call into question love, but typically when you're thinking more off logic and you're thinking love is a choice, you're more inclined to think out your thoughts and think out what you can do to make the relationship better. Where if you're just going off of emotion, you're going to have the best relationship you've ever been in, or B, you're going to burn out to where somebody gets tired and you're going to need that space.
Which one is far more likely?
I think if we're younger, definitely emotion, but the older you get, I think you learn to use more logic than you do emotion.
No, I was saying which is far more likely that it's going to be the best one or that it's going to burn out?
Oh, I think definitely emotion can burn out a lot, because if you're functioning solely off of emotion and purely off of emotion, you're giving too much of yourself in a sense. Like if you're functioning off of emotion, that means work burns off of emotion. That means interactions burn off of emotion. So I feel like if you're moving off of emotion, it is possible for you to have, balance in your life. But the likelihood of it happening, I feel, is very, very rare unless you learn how to attain balance.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's somebody that's like, you know, free-spirited, doing their own thing, fully functioning off of emotions, then they can say that this was fate because they've been doing that their whole life. But I think if you, like, your childhood or upbringing has forced you to live off of logic and think about everything before you do it, then you kind of see it more as a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it just depends on the person that is involved. Because it is very possible that people will say, you know, this relationship was fate. And that's because they're riding high off those emotions to where everything is adding up, everything is lining up, everybody's saying the right things. And it's like, man, this was like destiny. Like, where have you been? Like, this, me meeting you was like our destiny. It was like fate for it to happen. Mm-hmm. So, whereas logic, I don't want to say you're preparing yourself for disappointment, but you're looking at both the pros and cons of, you know, the relationship, not just blindly going through the actions.
So you're saying choice is, as far as it deals with logic?
Yeah, choice, I believe, is 100% logic driven.
What about because I'm looking at it a little bit different, because I'm thinking about what about the girls that choose the guys that are, you know, they don't look at it as really fate, but they choose them and they're just like, oh, now they're kind of off emotion, but.
Well, what do you mean the girl chooses the guy?
As far as like say for instance they choose a guy that's like not really a deadbeat, but someone who isn't.
So you're saying she settles?
Yeah, like settles basically.
Okay.
I mean, that happens though.
She rationalizes her
I
mind.
I think settling is essentially the point in which you burn out, to where you're no longer able to fully function off of emotion. You're no longer able to fully function off logic. You're just going through the steps because you are mentally and emotionally burnt out, and you're settling for what is there at the moment because it's what you're most comfortable with.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's because of, like, it's a complete lack of logic. Where I see what you say it could be, but in their mind, they're able to convince themselves that this is the best option that I have, given this particular set of circumstances that I'm under.
Yeah.
And they get that comfortability. That leads to settling, given it be a male or a female.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm just saying, okay.
What is your take on it?
My take?
Yeah. What do you think?
No, I say choice, but I was saying that because I feel like fate doesn't gravitate women to like ain't shit niggas. That's how I look at it. Like,
oh, is her fate to end up with ain't shit niggas?
Because I don't feel like fate gravitates.
Bad karma.
I don't feel like, you know, that's why I feel like it's more of a choice. They choose to be with that ain't shit nigga because they feel, oh, you know, he's nice. I mean, he can sell drugs, but I mean, well, you know.
But those are like we're comparing, like, I don't want to say apples to oranges, but like not. You're taking like a small batch of women and like using that, because every woman goes. I personally think every woman goes through that phase, because they, like, women for the most part.
If everyone goes to that phase, it's not really a small batch, really, is it?
But it's a phase though. That some women.
Some
like,
it's more.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Like I think women spend more time thinking under like logic and wanting to pursue men who are. I don't want to say they're pursuing it, but their desire is there for them to have like well-rounded men. But there is that phase, like college times, to where women want to live. They want to be adventurous, and that's in part because a lot of women will grow up under strict households to where they aren't allowed to do as much. And when they get that first glimpse of freedom, they're like, there's a whole world that existed that my parents were holding from me. Mm-hmm. And they tend to gravitate towards that danger because in that danger there's fun.
But does that danger ever really dissipate as far as them? Because they could still say, like, in the future, like, when they get older, they can be like, oh, yeah, I still want to, I don't even want a bad boy, but I want a thug that's a gentleman.
No, know? Because at the same time, in men, when men start having sex, it is hard for a man to, like, gravitate away from sex. Like, when you think about a relationship, sex comes as part of it. And so there are some men who are going to want that porn star figure, but aren't going to want to date a porn star. They're going to want women that will, you know, have as much sex with them as they deem fitting, mm-hmm. but aren't going to want that porn star thing. It's like same thing. It's like how, you know, the whole men say women who have a lot of sex are hoes, but it's not the case. I think men say that women are hoes because either A, they can't fuck that girl, or B, their understanding of that their opinion doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't you cannot be misogynistic and sit here and say that you want to be with a woman. Like it's kind of counterintuitive in 2018. Like it isn't impossible for you to, not impossible, because there's always the anomalies to where like some women are still fans of the cooking and cleaning, and then man makes the money. Like I think
they'll help perpetuate it.
Yeah. So that those women are there, but nevertheless, like I think that women have evolved as far as like their natural human rights, into where they feel like they can do anything just as a man can do anything. And so you can't put women in a box anymore. You kind of have to take them for what they are, because really taking them what they are is accepting yourself at the same thing. Like you do a lot of the things that women do, but you don't objectify yourself. Like men want to have a lot of sex, women want to have a lot of sex. Man who has a lot of sex is a player, woman who has a lot of sex is a hoe. So
I don't think that that phenomenon when it comes to choice is exclusive to women either. So like guys, we also, so you might say you want a good woman, like you said.
Yeah, I was about to say
those qualities. Yeah. All that, but then you, particularly in the younger years, you pursue women who don't have those traits. You'll look at like, oh, who's the fattest ass or something like that, and they don't have all these other qualities which you really want, but that immediate gratification, that's what you're pursuing.
Yeah.
So it just materializes differently with each respective sex, but we still exhibit those same tendencies.
Definitely.
Gotcha. So you said it's 25% feeling and 75% action. Does those percentages ever increase?
Well, the numbers, they weren't concrete. I just used I just used those specific numbers to illustrate a point where it was like, what's the majority? Because I couldn't say it was 50-50 because that doesn't do me any justice. This was just to illustrate the point.
Gotcha. Were you about to say something?
No, I understand what he said, because his take on it was how I was understanding it.
So you're saying actions will always be more than feelings?
Yeah,
it should be.
Because if you love somebody but you don't show it, what is it? You do really love that person? I couldn't say so. I don't think so.
Yeah, makes sense. Actions. Interesting. But so which one is any of these ways wrong? Like as far as if society goes by fate or if they go by choice, is any of these methods wrong?
No, because both can end up in disappointment. You can literally move off of logic and misread something and get the same result as somebody who's moving off of emotion and gets burnt out. I think whatever society says, cool, but at the end of the day, like, everybody's going to move how they want to move. Everybody's going to love how they want to love. And everybody's going to choose who they want to choose. You might not like it. The outcome might not be in your favor. It might be in your favor, but nevertheless, like, there's never going to be a time in history to where everybody loves off of logic or everybody loves off of emotion. It's always going to be, some people who are just so I guess like understanding of each other to where they can function off both logic and emotion. Like man could be based off logic, female could be based off of emotion, or vice versa, and it works. But nevertheless, like, you're never going to have like a logic, emotion connection, because everybody's different.
I think, excuse me, what was your question again? So I make sure I have the answer, but I want to make sure I frame it correctly.
As far as which one is
right or wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, is it right or wrong?
Based off of society's standards.
Yeah, are they right?
I feel like there's only one answer. I feel like we all love out of choice, and it's just we deem it, like I said, we deem it to be fate. And
what about the people that feel it's more fate? Like I
they watch too many movies. I'm telling you, because it's something about the way we project it in media. So like The Notebook and all these things, you look at how everything falls perfectly into place, and that changes our expectations. That's what we think is what it's actually like, versus us going out and this happened because I chose this person and this that. So I chose to do this, and as a consequence, this happened. So we're trained by what we see on TV, in the movies, in our music, and then we think that, oh, this is fate.
Makes sense.
It's all choice.
What choice?
Whether you acknowledge it or not.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So why do you feel? Okay, I kind of feel you're single because it's your choice, not really because fate has.
No, I don't think I'm being damned by.
No, not really. That should be.
I don't think I've been single for a year because some external forces just like No, I don't believe that. That is fate.
Not really. They're damning you, but they could be having you or stalling you to meet this other girl and become.
I don't believe that.
Like that. Yeah, kind of figured. What do you think?
Wait, why don't you believe
that? Because I'm a big believer in responsibility. Are you saying from like are you questioning because of like a religious background?
No, I'm just asking like, come on, like just out of the blue, like you don't think that every interaction, every relationship you have sets you up for the one after it? You don't feel like you take bits and pieces from?
I feel this rationally. Well, you should learn and apply that to the future. You should, which I think I do. I do an excellent job at that, in my opinion. You might hear from someone else. It might not be the case.
So you think you bait your well, that's not a question. You're basically, love to you is the choice. But what do you say about the people who constantly go in the same cycle, like women who constantly keep choosing the same dude over and over again, or the guy who chooses the same woman over and over again?
The kind of person, yeah. They're not tired of it because we don't stop doing things until we're tired of the result.
Do you think they're either not tired of it or they are ignorant to what is available? Because a lot of people are trapped in environments to where all they see is what they know, or what they see is all that they know. So if you aren't aware of the plethora of women that the world has to offer, your mind is only like going to imagine only but so much.
I don't really think of it as unaware. I think of it more as, say for instance, because I feel it's always like you're trying to get somebody, but somebody was trying to get you, but you're uninterested in them because you're trying to get this person. That's kind of how I look
tunnel
at
vision,
it. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
But see, what would prompt someone to explore those options elsewhere?
Ambition.
Because they get tired of what they currently have, right?
Well, it's either that, but it's also... So it doesn't necessarily base off of like love. Like them exploring options elsewhere could be because they have bettered their situation financially to where they're able to leave an environment and actually see different per se. That's how I'm trying. Like I'm more or less revolving around the idea that a lot of people only are aware of what they grew up around.
Yeah.
Not knowing that there's a whole different type of woman if you go 20 miles north or if you go 100 miles north or if you fly 1,000 miles west. Like there's different type of women. And I think that because you are ignorant, you think that you kind of have that connotation that all women are the same. You limit yourself to just what's in that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people who don't leave their neighborhoods, their cities that they grew up in for, until they're like late 20s, 30s. Some people don't leave. So they never know. Do you still give them do you still give them the hard reality that is choice, or can you say that that's fate because they're stuck in a cycle?
They chose their fate.
Do you think they chose their fate, or that's what they were born into?
You're not. No one is physically restricting you to stay in one location. There's always an option, whether you choose it or not. Is the thing.
It could be economic conditions.
What you're saying, yeah, economic conditions. Okay, cool, fine. But whatever. But so what we were saying as it applies to you thinking there's only one set of kind of woman or one set of guy for someone in a certain area. So there's a lot of truth to that. I agree 100%. Some people could have that mindset and they look at it as a microcosm as opposed to what else is out there, because that's so true for like think about like the job market, looking for careers and jobs and stuff like that. So if you're not thinking about going to a different location, you're just gonna look locally. And it might not be the best market. For example, let's say I work in the tech industry. The tech industry is okay around here, but what if this is actually true? There's better jobs up further north. But if I don't even think about going north, if I'm not willing to do that, and I'm just here, I'm gonna look around for the best option available to me. So I apply that in the same context as love, what you were saying. So there's a lot of truth to that, but I still believe that we have the choice because no one is actually making us stay and restricting that. Like, so you always have the option.
But is choosing the option to leave always what's best? Because you could choose the option to leave what you know, but the outcome isn't guaranteed.
We don't know.
So some people have that fear of trying because the outcome is unknown.
Did you ever watch any of the Will Smith interviews?
No.
Okay. You should really watch them. He says the greatest things in life are on the other side of fear, which is true. I thought about that. Like everything that I've done in my life that I consider to be something that advanced my growth or development, whether it be in a career type thing or whether when I was going away to go to school or sports or with women or anything like that, it was always something that made me anxious or excited before. Like, because Will Smith, he also said that those are the same emotions, how you frame it, anxiety and excitement.
Yeah.
Same exact feeling. But he was saying, if you feel nervous or you have that kind of feeling inside of you before you do something, that's probably the right thing to do, because on the other side, when you do it, you feel so much more fulfilled.
He said anxiety and excitement are the same feel?
Anxious.
Okay.
But I just, yeah.
Just want to say that would be an interesting take.
I mean, if you think about it.
To an extent, but I think anxiety is...
It's how you mentally frame it.
Yeah. I think anxiety has like a certain aura of fear around it, whereas excitement is like you want to go. Like there's... Excitement is like you know you can do something.
To me,
there's a desire for you to do something.
Right. I just got it because it made sense to me, because I understand like the feeling, the feeling in your stomach and all that. Mm-hmm. Like it's the same thing if you're excited for something or if you're nervous because like you have a big speech to give. But once you actually do it, you just feel great. Unless you just absolutely bomb it, you know.
Yeah. I think so. Like I said before, we all agree that it's more choice. That what there is not, it's not more choice. That love is something that is a choice. But what I was trying to relay at the same time is like we only understand it's choice because our horizon, our scope is but so wide. Mm-hmm. Whereas the people who their what they know is so small that it almost seems like fate. And to them it could be fate. But at the end of the day, when you dissect it, you really know that it's still a choice. Because it's like sums itself up as fate, mm-hmm. but it's because of a choice at the same time.
Right.
So if everybody believed that, as far as everybody believed that type of fate was inevitable, would that be better than
everyone believe it was fate?
Yeah. Would that be better as far as if everybody love was fate instead of a choice?
No. Because you're lying to yourself.
We already said that, bro.
You're lying.
We are talking about like the people who don't get the opportunities to expand their horizons, like actually go out there and see what's outside of their state or outside of their city, like, you know. And then a lot of people who like grow up in rural areas, like they don't get the same experience as somebody who grows up in a metropolis or, you know, suburban area.
Gotcha.
Because when you grow up in like a metropolis or like something like you got like a Norfolk or a Virginia Beach,
yeah,
the suburbs is like 10 minutes away from the hood. So you gonna have that experience of women wanting to date, you know, guys from the hood because it's literally right down the street from them. Yeah. Excuse me. The chance for it to happen is there. So.
And just changing your geographic location is one of the biggest things I feel that has progressed my way of thinking on life as a whole. Because it shows you, you know, that there's so much more. So once you get a little taste of like that, going somewhere else and say, oh, I didn't know that there were other things out here like that. Then you kind of, you know, you want to keep doing that. It opens up your options. So you see what options are out in a certain place, and then you want to go elsewhere to see what else is out there. But if you don't do that, I understand where Desmond was coming from.
Gotcha.
Still a choice though.
Okay. All right.
To them, they feel like it's fate, but to us, it's a choice.
So, as far as since love is more about choice, when it comes to gay people, them loving somebody, do you feel that's more of them just choosing, or do you feel fate actually requires them to pick someone of the same sex, or how do you feel about that?
I think it's the same.
Think it's the same?
Yeah.
I think like one of there was like a quote, not even a quote. I think it was somebody on either Twitter or like Tumblr, when I guess they had asked like their high school teacher like I forgot how the conversation unfolded, but it was like, when did you realize that you like women? And the answer would, like, as a heterosexual male, when did you realize you like women? And you will respond, all my life. And then to turn around and ask, like, well, when do you think a homosexual man realized that he liked men?
Mm-hmm.
All his life. Like, there's, I think you would be wrong to, like, put the LGBTQ community into a box of, like, feel like certain expectations or certain requirements happen to them, because they function the same way. They just have, like, societal burdens on them that causes them, or not even causes them, but prompts them to act a certain way towards society. Because they are the minority, they are the outliers, but really, you know, there's no difference between us.
Wait, are you referring to as far as them choosing as far as a particular person of the same sex, or just choosing the same sex in general?
You're saying your question was about choosing their sexual orientation, right?
Yes.
You worded it like that, and that's why I said, like, you can't, I don't know, I think we're on the same page because we both had the same reaction to that question. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean as far as...
I knew exactly what you meant.
So we are taking that question as, like, you're saying, is it fate that they end up with a man, or is it a choice that they end up with a man?
Yeah, basic. That's what I'm asking.
But we're saying that we don't want to necessarily answer that question because there's no difference between them and us. Like, they know that they've known that they've been gay their whole lives. There's always been the question because from societal standards, you've always seen a man with a woman. So if you're the outlier, you're not going to necessarily test your waters until you're comfortable. Some people are comfortable at an early age, some people aren't. And then some people are, like, really genuinely confused because it's like, I'm really interested in this, but everybody else is doing this.
Yeah, no, I asked because I try to explore both sides, but there's definitely people out there that feel that way, that it's more of just, you know, that's... What are you supposed to say?
No, I was laughing at you. Because I'll tell you later.
But yeah, that's just asking. But what do you guys think though? Is love more about fate or is it more of a choice? Okay. So the next topic. Did you guys want to finish with anything?
Nah, bro, we good. You out here throwing curveballs, knuckleballs.
But
excuse me.
But the next question is going to be, can you be pro-black and date outside your race? So, I know Bryan went first.
Yeah, I would like Desmond to open this one.
So, I am a strong believer in that you can be pro-black and date outside your race. I think the only thing that limits you from being pro-anything and dating within or without side of your race is the standard or the standards that you put on yourself. I think that if you're going to say you're pro-black, you need to be pro-black because that is the cause you believe in, not because that's what people want you to believe in or people have, like, forced you to believe in. I think that being pro-black is an acceptance of who you are, not necessarily what you need to be. Being pro-black is, like, accepting you for what you are, and that's it. It's not to sit here and say that because I believe that, you know, I am a strong black man, that I am made to be for a strong black woman. Because the person, like, it's the person that can be, you would be limiting yourself severely if you strongly believe that the person that is for you looks just like you. Mm-hmm. You know, we are, I think this is not hard for me to speak on, but might be hard for people to understand is because being a biracial or a mixed, you know, kid, like you grow up thinking you're black, knowing you're black, but then they're like all the kids come ask, well, what do you mix with? And you never had that conversation with your parents. Mm-hmm. So you kind of been like, you know, not the elephant in the room, not the outlier, but you've been ignorant to your own, you know, your own existence until you actually discover it. And just because you discover yourself doesn't mean you need to limit yourself from, you know, what society has to offer. It's just accepting what you are in itself and then, you know, wearing it proudly. I don't think you should. I think it's borderline racist to an extent to sit here and say, like, I'm black and I'm proud and I'm not going to date anybody else because of that. It's not racist, but it is borderline racist to where you're limiting your experiences that life has to offer just because of the color of your skin.
So you're saying it's discriminatory, which it is.
Very, very discriminatory.
Dating is discriminatory, period. Why do you choose one person over another? Because you deem one to be a better fit or more valuable than someone else.
And to limit it just to the color of skin is like you take it into a whole new extreme. And I get it, like cultures are going to sit here and say like, if I'm Asian, I want it. My parents are going to hate me if I date outside of the Asian community, or if I'm black, my parents are going to hate me because I date outside of the black community. And I think that's just you're limiting your freedom at the end of the day. Like when you realize that the individual you are with, that's a spiritual, emotional connection that you shouldn't take for granted, then you will appreciate whether that person is white, whether that person is black, whether that person is European, whether that person is African or Asian. You know, you should just accept that even if you date a black person, they're not going to have the same upbringing as you. You might date an Asian person that had the exact same upbringing as you. Strict parents, you know, didn't allow you to date, didn't allow you to do this, that, and the third until you were grown and on your own. Like, you would be robbing yourself of, you know, opportunities to limit yourself just to one race. So.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
But then you got Joshua Freeman over here. You know,
well, what are you trying to say?
Hey, you got the proud black man right here. Nah, I ain't gonna.
But but I don't know. You guys might be surprised, but I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. You can. I'm gonna say yes. You can be pro-black and date outside your race initially, but I feel first, if you to answer this question, you gotta ask yourself, what does being pro-black mean to you exactly? Like what does it mean to you? As far as to me, it just means like keeping up with your culture and like not backing down as far as if anybody doesn't like it or anything like that.
Exactly.
And with that, I feel that is possible dating outside your race, as far as like dating a white person or dating an Asian person. It doesn't matter. Like as long as you're still about being black and proud, basically, then it's fine. Yeah. That's how I feel.
And I think the biggest thing is that it was like when people look at either, you know, a black person dating a white person, and it's the whole, well, they will never understand the black struggle. That is true, but that does not bar them from being able to date outside of their race. Like, you just accept it for what it is and you educate them. Just them sitting here saying, like, you know, well, they don't understand. Obviously they don't understand. They've never gone through it, but you can enlighten them. Like, they might never understand firsthand experience, but you educating them enhances their awareness to societal, you know, norms and just what is wrong and what is right. Like, well, that didn't come out how I want to say it, but you kind of get the gist of it. Like, educating them allows you to see life from, not even see life from a black person's perspective, but just a sense of awareness per se. Like, you know what exists. You can no longer say you're ignorant to what goes on in the black community if you are educated on what goes on in the black community per se. And I think that comes with dating, you know, inside and outside of races. Like, you have to understand, you know, the cultural differences. You can't just neglect them because they exist.
Yeah, but to say that though, with as far as what does it mean to you, it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody though. So
no, it doesn't.
It just depends, like, because some people pro-black might mean, hey, I don't want to, I do only date black people, you know, only date black people, or only date this, whatever.
And there's nothing wrong with that thinking, but I would just say you're severely limiting, you know, what you can experience. And some people are fine with that.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like MLK and Malcolm X had different ideologies on what it means to be pro-black, basically. Even sometimes people might not say MLK was pro-black, but even with that, and even Malcolm in the Nation of Islam after 1964 when he left. So I just feel it's a different meaning for everybody. So that's why it's important to find out what that means to you first, then answer that question. Like, oh, can I date outside my race after? I mean, what does it mean to you? I mean, it just
And I think a lot of people, like, when they look at staying inside their race, they're looking at how can they advance their own community, which isn't wrong at all. Because if you look at Jews
is that okay though? Is that the only, like, an excuse? Like, okay,
why?
I mean, yeah. As far as,
is it something that I would be okay with? Like, if I like understanding?
No, because you said they're limiting themselves, but they're trying to advance. So are they really limiting themselves still?
No, they're not.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm not speaking on like racial indifferences. I'm speaking on like you just living as a person, accepting yourself for what you are, regardless of you know, your race. Acknowledge your race, but don't let it define who you are per se. That's how I'm looking at it. kind of like the more free spirited, enjoy life for what it is, and not limit yourself based off of, you know, what society says is right or wrong. That's kind of how I'm taking it. Like, there's nothing wrong with dating, like being pro-black and dating just black, because you're doing it for a reason. And I'm not going to say that reason is either right or wrong, because there's benefits that are going to come from it. You know, you're going to reproduce beautiful black children, and they're going to look just like you look.
So for that reason, but if, like, say for instance, you're just like, I mean, I'm pro-black, but I don't like white women, or I don't like Asians. Like, I just want to date black women. I just love black women. That you saying they're just limiting themselves, but
to an extent, yeah. Like,
but it's okay.
They are knowledgeably limiting themselves.
What if in their head though they're like, I want to increase the black surplus population. Like, I don't want to.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so are they still limiting themselves though?
To an extent, yes, but at the same time, no. It's I think there is no right or wrong per se, because it's like, well, what do you think on it?
I think they're extremely limited, because you're if you look at it from a purely statistical aspect, look at the numbers. So let's say out of 100 people, you're saying if let's say that's a blind date thing. So I had like a panel of 100 different women, right? And you tell me that you're only going to date black women, so you might eliminate 70, 80 of them right off that. So you can't deny the fact that you're limiting yourself. You're eliminating options, so that is limiting.
And I agree with that, which is why I say yes, you're limiting yourself, but based off what you believe in, no. Like, there's people who will go to the grave believing in certain things. Are they limiting themselves? Yes, but to what extent? Like, who are we to say that they're limiting themselves? If this is what they truly believe in.
Better yet, limiting isn't always a bad thing, because if that's your goal,
yeah,
then limiting is essential. So
okay, so okay.
That's how I'm trying to say it, but in short, that's the argument.
So do you agree that it's okay as far as if they're like trying to advance the race and everything like that?
I mean, that's not a new concept either. If you look at feudal Europe, the aristocrats, the nobility, they only married nobility because they wanted to advance to keep their status. Yeah. So, and it also applies to other races too. So it's not a new concept, but as far as it being limiting, to me it's fairly obvious it is.
It's fairly obvious, but because
it's okay,
their cause.
Is it okay?
But it's okay though.
If that's what they want to do. I'm not concerned with who someone is sleeping with. I don't care.
If you're happy, I'm happy.
But you had the very same line of logic that I did. So when I saw the question, the first thing I did, I researched. So I know what pro-black was, and I wanted to find a concise definition that I felt was a fairly good one to go with. So what I found was, well, to answer the question, do I believe it's possible to be pro-black and date outside your race? Yes. But the definition of pro-black was defined as being uplifting and empowering on the black race, on a spiritual, financial, and psychological level. That's fairly safe, right? Would we all agree with that?
Yeah, so, but of course to us though, but it could mean something. That's why I didn't research it. Like I didn't Google it or nothing like that. That's why. Because it can mean completely different to somebody else. That's what I'm saying. So
okay. Because somebody will take that definition and then go chase a Fortune 500 company CEO who is black but is married to a white woman per se, and it's like, are you really advancing the black cause if you're going to turn around and settle for a white woman? Like you're not putting another black person in a position to attain what you've attained per se. You're keeping white America. You're just a black man in white America conforming to white America standards. Okay. That's like how I look at the pro-black people who are against dating outside of their race, because it's a logical cause to feel the way they feel, but at the same time, like,
especially them thinking that back in the day, especially because I mean, thinking about a disparity between the races back in the day, they're like, no, I can't date her and then better than them, like, because they want me to do that, like, right. So I need to date my own.
How we're saying it, you could say that it sounds whitewashed, you could say whatever, but it really is just an acknowledgement of that life is so much more than just what your race is.
Right. That's why I think this way of thinking is so dangerous, because you're playing into identity politics. You're assuming that your color, your race, is your primary, your most important part of your intersectionality. Yeah. So I don't think that's true for me. I don't think that that the most important part of me is that I'm a person of color. No, it's not. I'm so much more than just that. That's just one part of me. That's one facet.
Yeah.
So for me to limit myself and just prioritize that, I feel that's just not. I'm not willing to do that.
Do you feel it's different for you though because you're lighter than?
Do I think that my complexion is different? No,
because it's not.
As far as how you perceive it and everything like that, because you said you don't feel like it's your color, because other people are darker than you, so they've been treating worse than you more than likely.
Definitely, but like, does it? I mean, you can't expect us to like bear the burden of what a dark skin. Like it's the same thing like as like a white person, you know, dating a black person. Like we understand this there. We understand that, you know, dark-skinned black people definitely face more than light-skinned black people, but we cannot wear their shoes. Like, we cannot wear shoes that don't fit. Like, I'm not going to be the angry light-skinned black man because my black brothers aren't getting the same rights, because it's not my place. Like, I don't understand that struggle firsthand. So everything that I will be saying is like secondhand knowledge. I will acknowledge, yes, I will be understanding, but at the same time, I'm also like, my power is only so limited. Like, I'm black just like you. My voice doesn't. I don't have the voice of a white man. I just have the DNA. It's in there. And
I still don't believe if I was to be darker that my skin tone is my most important essence of who I am. It's not.
You know for a fact though. Like would you believe that for a fact though?
Yeah.
Because you could have the different experiences. That's what I'm asking. Because you got different experiences which would cause you to think a different way. That's what I'm asking. Because no. But
you do have a valid point.
You do, but white people are going to treat you the same. Like, being at I don't know if you've experienced, but being at a predominantly white institution, like, you, no matter if you're dark-skinned black or you're light-skinned black, you're still a nigga on their campus.
You're not, you're not like us.
Exactly. Like, you're going to face the same
predominantly,
discrimination.
yes, but it's different when more dark-skinned black people are involved and you're the light-skinned guy. Yeah. And they're like, okay, I like this guy. I like him more than your dark friends. Like, come on, let's go.
But then you're pandering to white folks at that point.
But yeah.
This same logic. So I tried to find other examples to replicate it to make sure if I could test the way that I thought. And so the example I came up with is a feminist. So is a feminist who votes for a male candidate, is she still a feminist?
Yeah.
Yes. Because it all comes down to who's better suited for that task.
But that's
she could still be for women's rights and have voted for a male candidate over a female candidate. It doesn't mean, as long as she's not actively doing something to oppress or I guess disregard that. To the woman's she's not being a detriment. Exactly. As long as you're not being a detriment to that particular group, you can still be pro whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of makes sense. Okay, do you feel that you can still be pro black and then the person you're dating is like not really resents you, but it's like stop with all that. Like, come on, what you doing? Like, stop it. Like, we don't need all that black power shit. Come on, we equal. I'm colorblind. Do you?
That's not.
I gotta think about that.
So, what is the end of your question? Because I assume there's a.
As far as no, I'm saying, do you feel like
you feel like you can coexist?
Yes, you can coexist
and be with somebody who claims they don't see race. No,
yeah, as far as relationship,
nah, because there's always gonna be that.
Do you feel that other people can do that? I feel not you.
No, well, I'm not speaking for me. I'm not speaking for me. I'm speaking.
So you feel you can do that?
Yeah. Do I feel like I can do that? I'm not gonna get there. I want to dissect. Because I've never thought about this, so I want to hear my thoughts or hear my words as I say them, and then come to that conclusion. So, reason why I say that you can't coexist with somebody who doesn't understand your cause. Somebody can understand your cause and not support it, but when you are purposely saying like you're in a way trying to change that person. Mm-hmm. Like if you're saying like enough with all that pro black shit, like I ain't really trying to hear that. That's not my thing. You're not accepting that person for who they are really, because that their blackness is their identity. It's not the end all be all, but it is part of their identity. And so for you to necessarily say, "Oh, I'm not really feeling that," you're indirectly asking them to like cool out with all that shit. You're like, that's not even how I wanted to phrase it.
You're asking them to like suppress that part of themselves.
Exactly. And when really that's who they are.
They want you to be disingenuous to who you are, because that's important to you. He's saying that's one part. It's a major part. It's not the end all be all.
Exactly.
but it's part of who you are.
What if it's not a constant thing though? Say for instance, like not every day.
If it's not a constant thing, all that means is they're just suppressing how they really feel, and it was that one time for it to come out. That if it comes out once, they've been thinking it all along. They've just hit the point to where they
say they tolerate it. Like say for instance, you in their house they have like black posters, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, and everything. They're like okay, they tolerate it, it's cool, whatever. But when they watching TV and you watching a show or something like that, and you start saying, "Oh, I remember Marcus Garvey like used to do something, blah 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 blah." You're like, okay, can we just watch the show? So, please?
But do you agree that there's a time and a place for everything? Because we all know that one person, might be multiple ones, who they take every chance they can to remind you of whatever cause they're advocate for. So, like this is an example, us being the pro-black question. There's people who at every turn, everything you talk about, they have to bring up something pro-black. And it's even us being people of color. It gets tiring. Bring up the same point over and over again. So I do believe there's a time and a place for that, and that could just be potentially that person saying that that's not the time. Like we're having a good time at this cookout. We don't need you preaching and delivering. I have a dream part 2.
And also, if the person who is not
a dream part 2,
I just want some ribs.
I just want some ribs, please. Wait, go ahead.
I think like even if the person who comes out and says enough of it, they might feel some type of way to where they feel like you're flexing your blackness on them because you understand but they don't. They might feel like you're flexing, your imaginary muscles because they understand, because you understand and they don't, and they feel like instead of you educating them on what it is you're talking about, they feel like you're lecturing them or you're just going on and on about something that they might not really feel genuine about. And that is like a conversation that should happen as like, two people in a relationship, what they can and cannot, I don't want to say tolerate, but what they can and cannot, digest mentally per se. Like on like a educational level, like what information they want to take in and what information that they're better off without. Because you can sit here and preach Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey to a white person, but if it's not if that's information that's not in their interest for them to attain, then it's going to go in one ear and out the other, and then that develops I'm so sick of hearing this, or I'm so sick of hearing this, and then comes the whole enough of that pro-black shit, like
like take the fist off the wall.
Like you're black. If that's the case, then your blackness is your identity, and you're neglecting so many great facets of your personality and who you are as a person.
You make yourself one-dimensional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And ideally, you don't want to date or even procreate with somebody who's one-dimensional. Ideally, you want somebody who can, I don't want to say concentrate on your weaknesses, but they're able to complement your weaknesses.
And also to be with someone who you're constantly learning from. Because if you learn someone completely, which is impossible, by the way, you'd be totally bored. But you always have to have that constant mindset of there's something I could learn from you that I didn't know yesterday. And that willing, like no one's gonna understand you perfectly, but the biggest factor is that willingness to attempt to.
Gotcha. Where are you? Okay, because the way you answered the question, you said because they're bringing up a time and place for everything. So they could be. Are you saying it's possible that they can date someone who, well, I guess tolerated, but not really successfully agree with it? I guess you could say. You think it's possible?
Yeah. Could they not agree with you being?
But like they could tolerate it. They could tolerate it, but they don't really.
I mean, if they're actually not for it, I don't think so. But if
so?
it's just something that it's the wrong place, wrong time type thing, I believe absolutely. Just because they're speaking up and saying maybe you shouldn't have said that, or not, this isn't the time and the place, so I don't want to hear it. I feel like it's all about the reason behind it. Is it something they actually don't support? What you feel to be an important part of yourself, or is it actually just something that happens to be a very what's the word for it? It's just something particular to that time and place.
Gotcha. Interesting. But you gonna say something?
Nah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, that's just an interesting question. Wanted you guys to answer. Just curious. What do you guys think though? Can you be pro-black and date outside your race? Because, I mean, what does pro-black mean to you? It can mean something completely different from what we said, so.
Or if your race is different, could you still be pro your race and still date outside of your race?
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe does your culture allow it? Maybe you like forget that. I'm still do it and still support my culture. It just depends, you know. But yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap up. You guys have anything you guys wanna add?
Nah, I think we touched on everything today. Cool.
All right. So remember, guys, comment below, like, subscribe, all that. All right. As you know, my name is Joshua Freeman. You can find me on Instagram at Joshua VS Society and on Snapchat at Joshua VS Society. Bryan, where can they find you?
You can find me on IG. My username is at Bry Almighty. So BRY_ALMIGHTY_.
Desmond, where they can find you?
Y'all can find me on Snapchat only. And my handle is DopestDes, DOPEITSDES.
You heard it here, folks. We'll see you guys next time. Remember, we want to know what you guys think, all right? Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.